Spotify and Universal have linked a licensing agreement. This is streaming 2.0. We have their business plan. I'm just wondering, how much is this really going to benefit the artist and how much is it just going to benefit the label? Does that mean that there's preferential treatment now for the Universal artists and so everyone else is going to get crushed? Spotify just announced a huge update, and its latest move, well, we're concerned. Is it gonna leave independent artists behind? It's confirmed now that Spotify and Universal have a new deal, and this is a direct agreement. It must be so nice as a major label to have a direct agreement with Spotify, but they came up with one, and this is with the publishing side of Universal. Now, there's so many implications for you music creators on what this means, because what's being said is that this is an innovation of streaming. This is streaming 2.0, as Universal puts it. And what's interesting is that Universal relays and discloses what their plan is for 2025 to make as much money as possible. And it's something that's going to benefit you to know as well. We, in fact, have their business plan, and we're going to take a quick look at it. Now, for context, we've talked about Universal in a whole bunch of ways recently. We talked about Drake alleging that Universal was in cahoots with Spotify for Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar song, and boosting plays, right? We talked about how the Mechanical Licensing Collective is suing Spotify because of this bundling. Okay, and that's a part of it. Let's recap on just kind of where we're at right now. All right, so it's confirmed. We have a new deal. So it's official. Spotify and Universal have linked a multi-year licensing agreement. This came as somewhat of a surprise because here's the thing. Universal comes on in and is like, hey, we weren't cool with Spotify doing this bundling thing that got them sued in the first place. And as part of this deal, the bundling aspect is now not going to be a problem. That's great for Universal. Okay. So it means that essentially Universal's publishing side is going to get paid more. And for me, being very interested in independent artists and independent creators, I go, well, there's only one pool of royalties with Spotify. So I go, if you're telling me, woohoo, we did a deal between Universal and Spotify, Universal's going to get paid more. That means everyone else is going to get paid less. Anyway, let's go back to this. So the chairman and CEO of Universal said, quote, when we first presented our vision for next stage in the evolution of music subscription several months ago, streaming 2.0, this is precisely the kind of partnership development we envisioned. I don't want to be a hater. It's cool. Universal is a giant company, one of the biggest record labels in the world. And I just go having these wins and then having the label say, this is so great for our artists. We're so artist-centric and driven. I go, how's that? We know that the deals that these artists do with major record labels is for a very minimal amount of royalties. And most of the time, the artists are not actually receiving those royalties until some very far distant future. I mean, we just covered how Limp Bizkit, a band that signed in the 90s with Universal, as of today, 30 years later, right, has still never received any royalties whatsoever because the label's like, oh no, we spent so much money, we're still recouping for a band that has done that well, right? So in any case, going back, the CEO of Universal, very excited. We're so artist-centric. This is going to help to monetize for artists and songwriters, okay? And then, of course, Spotify's founder and CEO, Daniel Ek, said, quote, for nearly 2 decades, Spotify has made good on its commitments to return the music industry to growth, ensuring that we deliver record payouts to the benefit of artists and songwriters each year. Okay? Well, I think one of the strong complaints across the board from songwriters and artists is that they are not being paid what they should for streaming revenue. And obviously, one of the other updates is that, well, you don't get paid at all unless your song has at least 1,000 streams on it. Marketing has always been such a pain point for me, and I've spent so much money trying to figure out how to do this and to actually grow social media organically, because whether you're in the music business or you have a business that's completely in a different field, I've done that from the different businesses that I have grown, including for my music career. So if this is something that you need help with, I have synthesized all this information into a course. This thing is quick and dirty. It's meant to give you about under an hour of all the things that I know. The marketing marketing schedule that you need, an actual game plan, what to post, when to post. So if that's something that you need help with, check out the link down below, Marketing Made Easy. Here's what is basically going on with this deal. Behind the scenes, there's a debate. So that the new deal essentially ends the bundle-related discount, right, that Spotify put into place. So what Spotify tried doing is Spotify announced, it's like, hey, we're permitted to do this, right, lawfully, in that we're going to reduce the royalties by adding more into the pool. Because what we're going to do is we're going to bundle some listening of like audiobooks, right, with people who are listening to music. And so the reason why the Mechanical Licensing Collective, had a fit about this and then actually sued Spotify is because they're like, you're trying to use a loophole to do this thing when really all you're doing is you're like adding in, 2 seconds of listening to something else and calling it a bundle. It's not a bundle. So that's what's going on. But what they're celebrating here is they're like, oh, it's so great. Universal Publishing is going to get more of these royalties, and like the bundle thing not going to be a problem. So I just go through this, and guys, I'm really curious for kind of your take on this, because I go, well, sounds to me, and my understanding is that this is preferential treatment to Universal. And we kind of knew that anyway, right? Major record labels, stakeholders in Spotify, that they're going to get special treatment. Drake was alleging this, right? In his allegations having to do with boosting of the song's popularity and this and that, and just being like, no, like, there's preferential treatment, there's side deals and all the stuff going on. So they talk about basically how they're going to do higher tiers. So there's going to be like super premium tiers for people to subscribe to. And here's the thing. I think they've been watching our videos. Universal and Spotify, as part of this deal, are going to be doing direct to fan model of making money. So they're not just going to rely on streaming anymore. So we're looking at this business plan that they put together. Let me show you guys. All right, so in the business plan here, we can kind of just scroll through. We see all kinds of famous faces. And this is something that they actually present, right? They've been presenting to their investors. So they go, guys, this is the future, okay? So we are basically going to focus on super fandom to accelerate our economics, aka to make more money. So we go, how can we apply this to you? Let's learn from the best. How can we apply this to you and your music career? Well, let's take a look. So this was, obviously we're in the beginning of 2025 now. So this was the 2024 investor presentation. So they go, we're going to focus on the monetization, and this is what we're going to do. We are going to look at all the different platforms, right? So over the years, starting from 2013 all the way through to 2024, when this was presented, we have more platforms. We have evolved because now we also have social media, right? We even have WhatsApp. And so we have all these places that we're going to be focusing on monetizing. And the way that we're going to do that is through super fans. So in the 60s to the 90s, the super fan passion was evident at midnight in that people would line up the streets, right? We're ready to get back to the good old days. That in the good old days, we had people who actually invested in the artist and, for example, bought merch, went to shows, supported in any way that they could. And what happened is that, over time, we've had just a flattening of just a focus on streaming and making revenue now through ancillary things like merchandise has become more and more important. And so Universal itself is saying this in its investor presentation. All right, so they go, look at this pie. In the pie, we have all the ways that musicians make money. We have publishing, digital downloads, licensing, merch, physical sales, ad-supported streaming, paid subscription streaming. So they go, we basically are continuing to grow, and we're going to focus on really the 360 deal. We're going to monetize and make money from everything. So we are innovating and developing products and experiences to give super fans more opportunities to engage. So I go, okay, so what does this mean practically? This means that if they're doing a deal with Spotify, that they're going to make these kind of paid superfan tiers inclusive of the DIY model, right? Which independent artists use right now, which is we're going to ascend them into not just more products, but also experiences, right? So how can we actually connect fans with the artists? But in the vacuum of Universal lands, the reason why we love this and it works so well for independent artists is because you guys are the ones that benefit from this. You guys are the ones that make the money from setting up your own website and doing digital downloads, right? Doing something special, doing handwritten lyrics, having merchandise. By monetizing not just your music, but the other things that are ancillary for you to connect to your fans and have extra things that they can buy and experiences that they can pay for, this is how you can have a meaningful six-figure music career where you can comfortably live off of what you do in the entertainment industry. And now we have one of the biggest record labels in the world saying this is their plan. Music is universal. There's a whole lot of listening that's happening every single day, and we are some of the top, right? So they go through and they're like, we have some of the top musicians across the board, across the world. Universal is consistently home to the world's best-selling recording artists. Okay, so they go through year after year. And then, of course, we have all of our imprints. And so we have a strong record of success, right? They're using the B, right? The billion. All right, so in their innovation, they go, look at this. We have this curve over time, starting from 1999 through 2023. And so we can see the yellow. This is the streaming. We see streaming, right? Lot more. And we see that, for example, digital downloads had a nice little spike, but those are also on the decline. So they go, as we are focusing now and seeing where the trends are, we want to know where can we monetize the most. Okay, so they're going to drive growth in streaming, they're going to unlock super fandom, and they're going to empower a broader ecosystem. Now, we saw this coming, okay, because we saw that distributors and labels were starting to pick up on this whole DIY and why it works so well. And that's why we want to focus on it, for purposes of today. It's like Universal doing another deal with Spotify, coming up with these tiered things. We're concerned about it, right? What does that mean? Like, does that mean for a super premium, the algorithm's going to shift? Does that mean that there's preferential treatment now for the Universal artists, and so everyone else is going to get crushed? Probably. But it doesn't change that the DIY system is the thing that works. And it works so well that now the biggest labels in the world are applying it to what they're going to be doing and that they are doing this year. And I don't know, to a degree, I'm kind of wondering if this is, labels like trying to give the illusion that they really are for the artists because they're trying to create more of these experiences. But at the end of the day, I'm just wondering, how much is this really going to benefit the artist and how much is it just going to benefit the label? The label is entitled to utilize its contracts, utilize the music that it owns. So I guess more than anything, for the DIY and what you guys are doing this year, do you have a website? Do you have an email list so that you are cultivating the audience and harvesting so that you can actually build something that is making money? Because the big majors are doing it and they're coming for your space. Now, in the realm of just kind of like marketing what you're doing, growing organically, learning the monetization piece, right? On how you actually utilize your music, how do you make money from it. We released a video recently on it. I have a mini course on it if you want to deep dive and actually get a schedule and do all the good stuff. I'll link that down below for you. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Miss Krystle.